It was my third day in China. I had just arrived in Guangzhou, my first trip outside of the United States in years. The night was warm, the city alive in ways I hadn't expected. Neon signs bathed the sidewalks in a soft electric glow, and every corner was bursting with unfamiliar smells: roasted duck, sizzling tofu, steamed dumplings laced with chili. I had just finished exploring a night market that stretched for blocks. It was loud, colorful, chaotic, in the best possible way. Street vendors called out with smiles, offering samples of strange but delicious snacks. Kids darted between stalls holding sugar-coated fruit, and couples laughed under glowing lanterns. There was an energy to it all. Vibrant, safe, almost utopian. I stopped at a convenience store to grab a bottle of water and some instant noodles before heading back to the hotel. As I reached the register, I instinctively reached into my pocket for my phone. Empty. My heart skipped. I checked my backpack, jacket, pants pockets, nothing. I ran back outside and retraced my steps, scanning the pavement and glancing nervously at strangers, wondering if someone had picked it up. Panic surged in my chest. Losing your phone anywhere is stressful. But losing it in a foreign country where you don't speak the language, don't have access to your hotel reservation, your translation app, your wallet, your contacts, it feels like your lifeline has been cut. And this wasn't just any country. This was China. The one I'd been warned about. Back home in California, friends had said things like, "China? Be careful. They monitor everything. Don't talk to the police there. It's not like America. You'll get followed, watched. It's like Big Brother on steroids." The idea of going into a police station in China terrified me. I imagined long interrogations, suspicious stares, maybe even being blamed for losing the phone. It sounded absurd, but that's what fear does. It takes stereotypes and turns them into certainties. But I had no other option. I couldn't even call the hotel. I stood on the sidewalk, paralyzed. A shopkeeper noticed me pacing and approached. He didn't speak English, but I pointed to my pocket and said, "Phone." "Gone." He pulled out his phone, opened a translation app, and typed something. He showed me the screen. "Do you want me to call the police for help?" I paused. My instincts screamed no. But my rational mind whispered, "What else can you do?" I nodded slowly. 20 minutes later, I was inside a neighborhood police station. Small. Clean. Quiet. A young officer greeted me at the door. Not stern, not suspicious, just professional. He offered me a bottle of water and gestured for me to sit. With the help of a translation app, we began piecing together what had happened. I told him about the convenience store, the approximate time, the description of my phone. He listened attentively, nodding, occasionally clarifying a word on his screen. Then he stood and walked over to a monitor. A few minutes later, he pulled up security footage from the street. I was stunned. There I was, clearly visible on screen, entering the 7-Eleven. I could see myself placing the phone on the counter while grabbing my wallet, then walking out, without it. He fast-forwarded a few minutes. A young man in a yellow jacket, likely a food delivery rider, entered the store, glanced at the counter, picked up the phone, and left, looking unsure. The officer turned to me and smiled. "Delivery worker," he said. "Meituan? Maybe help." They called the local Meituan dispatch center, gave a time, a description. Within 10 minutes, they had a number. They called the rider directly. He answered. He still had the phone. Apparently, he thought someone had forgotten it and meant to turn it in later. He was on a delivery route nearby. The officer asked him to bring the phone to the station. He agreed. 25 minutes after I had entered the police station, the door opened again. There stood the delivery man, soaked from the light rain outside, holding a McDonald's bag in one hand, my phone in the other. He handed it to me with both hands and bowed slightly, apologizing in Mandarin. I looked at the officer in disbelief. "That's it?" I asked. "It's really back?" He smiled again. "China fast," he said, half joking. I stared at the phone. Still unlocked. Battery at 17%. All apps untouched. It was like the universe had hit rewind. I walked back to the hotel that night in silence. Not because I was tired, but because something inside me was shifting. Back home, I wouldn't expect a stranger to return a phone, much less come to a station voluntarily. I wouldn't expect the police to care much either. They'd take a report, maybe shrug, then move on to bigger problems. In fact, I'd probably spend hours on hold with customer service, only to get told to file a report online. And even if I did report it in the US, it would go into a database and vanish forever. No CCTV footage, no coordination with delivery apps, no sense of urgency. Just another number. But here? In a country I was told to fear? They solved it in under 30 minutes. With surveillance, yes, but also with people who cared. It made me think. In the US, we call ourselves free. But we're trapped in bureaucracy, neglect, and indifference. We celebrate individual liberty, but when you're in trouble, you're on your own. In China, I saw something different. The system is designed to respond, to assist. It may not be perfect. But at that moment, it worked. It worked in a way that felt human, compassionate, and, dare I say, efficient. There were cameras, yes. But they didn't feel oppressive. They felt protective. There was order, yes. But it didn't feel authoritarian. It felt organized. I had grown up being taught that more government meant more problems. But here I was, standing in a country we often criticize, experiencing a level of safety and care I'd never felt back home. Later that night, I called my friend in LA using the hotel Wi-Fi. I told him the whole story. He laughed in disbelief. "Dude," he said, "if that happened to me in New York, I'd be on Craigslist offering a reward." Then he paused. "And I wouldn't even go to the cops. They don't care. They'd probably say it was my fault." That's the thing. In the United States, we've normalized indifference. We've accepted inefficiency as the price of freedom. We've learned to fend for ourselves because the system won't. In China, I didn't feel free in the American sense of the word. But I felt safe. I felt cared for. I felt like someone had my back. And isn't that what freedom should feel like? We've built this illusion that freedom is about being left alone. But what's the use of that freedom when no one shows up when you need them? In the West, we ridicule surveillance. We scream about privacy. But we ignore the fact that every click, every swipe, every location ping is already being sold by Silicon Valley to advertisers. In China, those same systems are used to deliver your food in 10 minutes, return your lost phone in 30, and alert authorities when someone collapses on the street. Maybe that's not dystopia. Maybe that's just functionality. This experience made me rethink everything I thought I knew. Not just about China, but about the hollow promises of freedom back home. Because it's not about whether cameras exist. It's about who's behind them and why. In the US, we are watched too. We just don't get anything back from it. Here in China, I lost my phone and gained a new perspective. When I walked out of that police station, I didn't just have my phone. I had a newfound respect for a country I barely understood. I saw past the propaganda on both sides. And I realized, sometimes the truth doesn't fit the story we've been told. Sometimes you have to experience it yourself. And sometimes the place you fear the most might be the one that protects you when it matters most. So here's my question to you. What does freedom mean if it leaves you alone when you need help? And what if the places we call unfree are simply better at showing up? Think about that. Because I did. And I haven't looked at the world or my country the same way since.